Good morning, everybody. This is Becky at Aunt Beck's Creations. Hello. I'm in this lineup because I wanted to kind of show how to do a quick crocheted hat, and we'll do it in real time together. You just need some four ply number 4 yarn. I'm using the what's it called? It's a Joann's yarn. Big twist value, 100% acrylic. And on the back, you'll see it'll have a 4 on it like this. The 4. It's a medium weight. And I'm going to use the size 8. It's a 5mm crochet hook, also known as an H hook. So I realize not very many people are up and about on a Sunday morning, so I'm just going to start working. I'm just going to start with any color. I was going to let the chat pick the color, but we're going to start with what I have right here at the right, and I'll work my way across. So the first thing you want to do is you can either do the chain method, but I like to use the magic ring because you can pull it tight so you don't end up with a hole in the top of your hat. So you take your thread, put it between your fingers and your thumb here. Take your index finger and your middle finger, wrap the yarn, come over your around your middle finger and back up over your index finger and make a cross. So there's a cross right here. Then you're going to take your crochet hook, go under the first string, grab the second, and as you're coming under, make a twist in it. So it's twisted around your hook. Then you're going to shift and grab the two pieces that you had wrapped around your finger, and you're going to pull on your supply yarn, the yarn that's attached to the ball, pull it through. I pulled it too tight. Now I got to loosen up. So chain 1, chain 2. So now that is just the connecting. Hi, Ruth. That is just the beginning. It's not going to count as a double crochet. That's just your very beginning. That's to get from your beginning to end. But I'll show you. Once you do the magic ring and you start with the slip stitch and then chain 2, or basically chain 2, then we're going to do 8 double crochets through the magic ring. So you go inside the ring and make a double crochet, which I know in UK this is your single crochet. So I'm going to do 8 of those. So that's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Got to stop and get some yarn loose. And I'm always holding the magic loop so that my tail doesn't get stuck in the stitches. This takes some practice. The magic ring does. 6. There's 7 and 8. Now, once you get that one completely made, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 plus your chain 2, but you don't count the chain 2 as anything. It's just to get you to the next row. So now you grab your tail of your magic ring right here. So this is the supply yarn. You're not going to bother with it. You're going to come over here to this part that's left from the magic ring and then just pull it. And just keep pulling it around. Then we're going to work this tail in as we go. You skip, you count your chains by the little things here. The stitch at the top of your each stitch has a top of their stitch. Go ahead and count 8 back. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. This is where you're going to insert your hook. You're not inserting it into the chain. It's in top of the very first double crochet you made, and you're just going to do a stitch. But I messed up because I want to make sure this is under where I'm going to. So into there and then slip stitch and then chain 2. Okay, see how it closes it up, the magic ring? Then you just have to kind of work your tail in, and what I do is I lay it on top of the stitches and I work into my stitches around that tail. But in this very first one where you did your slip stitch, you're going to want to do, you do that slip stitch and then you chain 2. Then you're going to work in every single stitch around now, you're going to work 2 double crochets. Hi, Gigi. So in every single stitch, put 2 double crochets. Remember, you don't count that chain 2 as a double crochet. Some patterns you do, but on these hats, I have not been. It basically fills up that space. So you don't end up with a space where you attach first row to second row and such. You'll see. So when you get done on this round, you should have 16 stitches because you're doing 2 double crochets in each of 8 stitches. And you can change color on every single row if you want to. I haven't been because that's a whole lot of tails to deal with in the end. But you can if you don't mind sewing the tails in from where you change colors. And this tail is really too long, so I'll probably trim it, but I save all the little tiny bits I've been trimming because I want to do a couching project on a piece of canvas with all this extra yarn and make a colorful tree. So that's a project to look forward to. So we're almost back around. Oh, they've had a wreck out on the interstate. I hear the sirens going already this morning. Once I get around this and I've carried that tail under my stitches, I hope that makes sense as to where I'm carrying it. It's laying on top of my stitches, and then I just go into my stitch and make sure that the tail is laying atop the stitch. So there I've gone through the stitch and my tail is laying over here. So when I draw up my thread, I'm locking it in there, and I didn't do that stitch right. It should be a double crochet. Oops. All right. All right. So I'm going to trim this off so we quit seeing it. Let me just cut that free. All right. So now you should have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16. So you don't want to work in the chain right here. You're working in that first double crochet there. That's the fire truck. But we're going to draw through and do a slip stitch. So we've connected our round. All right. So go ahead and chain 2. Always chain 2 after you've done your slip stitch. Chain 2. Now on this round, you're going to do 2 double crochets, then a single double crochet here. So 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, all the way around. So we start by doing 2 in here. In my head, I'm going 1, 2, and then I'll say 1, and then 1, 2, 1, and that's how I keep track of where I'm going. So this is 1, 2, and then 1 in the next one. And 2 in the next one. got a knot there, but I'm just going to go with it. Oops. Okay. So how's everybody doing on this Sunday morning? We are up very early. Scott's schedule's got us all turned around. So 1 and then 2, 1, 2. There's 1. And 2 into the same stitch. The next stitch you do just 1. And then you do 2. Okay. Oops, I didn't get all the way through that yarn, and you want to make sure you don't continue with a split thread, because then if you have to take it out, it's hard if you've split the thread. So make sure you don't. Oh, that's right, y'all are having the Jubilee. Cool. Enjoy. I've been watching some of it on YouTube on the Royal Families channel. Yeah. All right, so now we know we're at the end because this is a single and we started with a double. Then we're going to slip stitch into the top of the first double. So skip the 2 chains and go into the top of this one. Now I'm going to switch colors, and I don't draw this color back through here. I go ahead, I put my hook in like I'm about to do my slip stitch, and then I'll tie on my new color. So I just set this down and I cut it. I give myself enough tail so that I can sew it in later. And I'm going to use yellow. I've got all these other colors coming down here in the way. So I'm going to move to yellow. And I just lay my 2 strands together and tie a knot like that. I don't know if that's how you're supposed to do it, but that is how I change color. And I draw my knot up nice and tight. So see, now I've tied a knot. They're tied together. Now I grab the yellow and pull it through. I try not to get the knot pulled through to the right side because this is the right side of the hat. All right. Then we're going to pull it on through this and then just start again with the chain 2. Now on this row, it's 2 double crochets in the first one, and then do 2 stitches with just a single double crochet in it. So we'll start with 2 double crochets. This is how you increase, to increase the size of the hat as you're going. And then you do 2. So we did 2, and now 1, 2 singles. Then you're going to do 2 doubles, then 2 I say singles. I don't want to confuse you as far as them being single crochet. You're doing a single stitch is what I'm meaning. So then we'll do 2 double crochets here, 1 and 2, and then do 2, 1, 2, and then there's 2, and then 1, 2, 1, 2, 2 here. These colors make it look like candy when I get done with a hat. So we need to do our 2 that are just a single stitch on their own. 2. And you have to hold your hook what's comfortable for you. Some people hold their hook like I am, but also I think Mary Lou said she holds hers like this, above the hand. So I hold mine below. So everybody has to find what works for you. There's no really right or wrong way. You got to find what's comfortable for your hand and your dexterity. It may be different than mine. I get really upset with people saying, "You're doing it wrong." No, I'm doing it a way that my physical body can manage it. So if you get a teacher that's all hung up about the correct way to hold a hook or something, you might want to find a different teacher, because everybody's physical abilities is different. Everybody's. Some might crochet exactly like I do, and others might do the overhand stitch or some other way. And I know for a fact there's different ways to knit as well, because Arne and Carlos pointed that out to me. You can they have a different way of holding everything where they are. All right. So I know I'm coming up to, I don't have very many stitches left, and I know I've just did my double, so I just have to do the 2 singles here and here. This that looks like a stitch right here is where you connect it. So you don't want to go into that. You want to do your slip stitch into the top of the first double crochet here, like so. And then chain 2. 1, 2. Okay. And this is where that chain comes in. It kind of fills in that space that might be left like a gaping hole. All right. Now this round, you're going to do 2 in the first one, and then you're going to do a single stitch in the next 3. So each time you go around, you're going to add another single between your doubles. You know what I'm saying? So we'll do 2 and then 3 singles and a double, and then 3 and then 2 and then 3. On the next round, you'll do 2, 4, 2, 4, and then the very last increase row is 2, 5, 2, 5, 2, 5, all the way around. And then you can use, once you get your increases done, you're going to just work in the stitches around. That makes it big enough for an adult. So let's finish this one. So it's 2 in the first one, along where you did your slip stitch and your chain 2. This is a really easy way to do a hat. And then we're going to do 3 singles. 1, 2, 3. And now you're going to do 2. 1. This is one you could put a couple good, like softball sized balls of yarn into a project bag, and you could make a couple hats while sitting on a train or waiting in a doctor's office. That's when the project bags are handy. All right, so that's my third one that's on its own. All right, so now we're going to do 2 in the next stitch. And you can change your color as often or as infrequently or not at all. If you don't want to change color on your very first one, you just keep going with the same color. And I've done them in solid colors. I've done them in multiple colors. Sorry about the dog barking. Our dogs, Scott said Bernadette was barking her head off this morning, and that he went out and walked around and didn't see anything. And for our dog to bark at something, it's kind of a miracle because she's totally blind. She can't see anything, but she was out there just barking her head off. And her hearing's not too good, so I have to wonder what it was. I hear a Mississippi kite outside, which is a blue-gray bird. So we did 2, 1, 2, 3. We need to do 2. Sometimes I have to recount for myself if I'm talking and trying to do this. That's why I usually just put a movie on and just kind of halfway watch it, you know. You too, Mrs. Gigi. Have a wonderful day. I think I've picked the finishing stitch and added it to the playlist, but I need to give it a go and for our Afghan project. It's a beautiful leaf stitch, but I'm going to give it a try after I do this hat. And I don't want to be on too long because I know Anne comes on. But I figured it was so early I could pop on and show y'all how to do a real simple basic hat. So now we need to do our 2. And you'll know if you mess up because your count won't come out right when you get back around to the beginning. You will end up with not enough of the count stitches. So there's 1, 2. I have messed up and put like 2 doubles together, and I had to rip it out and go back. All right, so there's a double, 1, 2, 3, and then I should do a double. Now I should have just 3 left, 1, 2, 3, and that, so I know I did right. I did correct. 1, 2, and 3. And then remember, don't connect in your chain. Connect in the top of your very first double crochet. Do a slip stitch, chain 2. Now this is our row where we're going to do 2 in the first, and then we're going to do 4, and then 2, and then 4 around. Hi, Miss Maryberry. So I'm going to do 2. So there's 1, 2, and now I'm going to do 4 in the top of the next 4 stitches. So there's 1, 2, 3, and 4. And in the next stitch, you'll do 2 together. So 1, 2. Then we got to do 4 in the 4 stitches, 1 in each of the next 4 stitches. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 2, 1, 2, and then 4 again. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 2 in the next stitch. 1, 2, and then 4. 1, 2, 3, 2, 3, 4, and then 2, 1, 2, 3, oops, 4, 1, 2, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 2, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now we should be in our last repeat. So 2, 1, 2, and this is where you can check to make sure you haven't messed up. There should be just 4 stitches left. 1, 2, 3, 4 to work into. 1, 2, 3. And I'm thinking, let's change colors again. So what I do when I change colors is insert my hook into the top of the first double crochet, and then I clip this thread here, just clip it, and I'll tie on my next color. Let's do this pretty color here, this kind of aqua, if the red will quit wrapping up with it. I have a lot of red left, so we might have to still use some red. So I just grab what I just cut here and the tail of the one I'm going to start using, and I put them together, and then I just tie a knot like this and draw it up. Got my tails a little long, but that's okay. All right, then we're going to do draw up our slip stitch with the new color and through, and then chain 2. Now, if you forget what increase row you're on, you can always, if you look at your hat like this, the first one was just your 8, then you did 2 in each one, that was 6. And so the next row you increased 1. Or you had a single crochet between your doubles. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4. So we know that this row is, you're going to do 2 and then 5, 2 and then 5 around. And after you complete this row, you can do any stitch you want. Just you might want to play with the ones that'll work. Let me see, how do I want to say that? Because some stitches are worked, so they are worked from the back, and some are worked from the front. So you got to play around and see which ones will work. And there are some Hi, Di, haven't seen you in a while. Good morning. Good morning. So yeah, my favorite to do on these hats are shells. So I think I'm going to show you guys how to do shells after I do this increase row. So let's do our 2 double crochets in the first one. Then remember, we need to do a double crochet in each of the next 5 double crochets. So count off 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now you're going to do 2 in the next one. And this is your last increase row. So you won't have to do any doubles anymore unless the stitch you're doing calls for it. And I'm just going to show you guys. So there's 2, and then I got 2. I lost count thinking. I can't think and count in my head at the same time. Isn't that funny? 4 and 1 more makes 5. Oops. Let me see if I can put this in the bag so I can just draw it up and it can roll around in the bag. That works better. It's going to come off the table if I keep leaving it on the table. And before I usually start my pattern, like if I'm going to start doing shells, I usually do this increase row and then just do one row around, simply so that all the stitches are even around. They're even, but you know what I mean? There's not too close together. I just find the pattern sewing or crocheting easier if I'm on the same plane, I guess is what I'm thinking. And you also do not have to do the next row, you do not have to do double crochets, which let's do half double crochets on the next row. You can do any stitch after this. And I just work it until I can slide the hat on and it goes over my ears, because I think it's important to cover your ears because I get ear infection so easy. So that's what I've done on all these hats. And I'm going to wash them because I have cats. I'm going to wash all of the hats out in the other room with an allergen reducer. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this is the 2. And I'm going to wrap them up out there away from all of my cats so there won't be any allergens left on them, and they'll be clean for when I send them off to where they're going. 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 2 in this one, and then 5, 1, 2, 3, 4. I could probably put my yarn in my yarn bowl my sister made me, but I've got the tote bag down there on the floor and it's working pretty good too. As long as I only have one color in the bag. If there's another color in there, it starts dancing together and then it's pretty, it gets to be a tangled mess. All right, so I should have 6 stitches left. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So the first one, you do the 2, and then you do the last 5 double crochet and a double crochet. And then you are done with the increased rows after you do this number, this row. So you start with 8, then the next row you double, so you do 2 in each stitch to 16, and then the next row you do 2 and then 1, and then the next row it's 2 and then 2, 2 and then 3, 2 and then 4, 2 and then 5. That is how you increase. I've never really counted these. I guess I could do the math. So I slip stitched into my first double crochet. Now I'm going to only chain 1 on this row because I'm going to switch to half double crochets. And you're only going to put 1 in each stitch around. So let's go ahead and do a row of half double crochets, which is you're drawing up the same as you would for a double crochet. But when you get 3 on your hook, instead of pulling through 2 and then pulling through 2, you pull through all 3. That's a half double crochet. You could do a single crochet. You could do any stitch you want right now. You could do any of the stitches that we learned, but you're going to have to practice with that because the bean stitch doesn't really work on a hat because you have to change directions to make it work. I found that out. I made one hat and it doesn't stretch as good as the ones I've done with the shells in it. That bird's happy. So I'm just doing half doubles in each stitch around. Hi, Angie. She's going to go back to sleep. All right, rest well. And I will have tails to deal with on the inside of the hat. So after I finish it, what I do is I turn it wrong side out and I just take my yarn needle and I sew the tails in a little ways in one direction, and then I turn around and go back in the other direction. And when you do it that way, the tails are less likely to pull out. All right. I know this is kind of slow to watch, but I thought it would be the best way. And anybody can slow me down or speed me up to get to the next part of it if they want to, or they can just pause me. But I figured it's not too many stitches to get around a hat that maybe I could do it in real time. And if you wanted just to try to sit and learn this one day, you can stop and pause me while you work on something. And then if you get stuck, turn me back on. That's the beauty of the YouTube. You have control whether you watch it or if you go on by or if you slow me down or speed me up. All right, I'm just doing one stitch in each stitch around, and I'm doing half double crochets. All right, I've got just the two more. And then I'm going to join in the top of the first half double crochet. If I can get this hook to get in there. All right. And I'll draw through and then draw through. And see those connecting chains, they kind of close that little space up that sometimes you'll see. All right. Any questions? Oh, good morning, Ray D. Hadn't seen you in a while either. I had watched Sewing Bunny did a video on these shorts that she had made. And I told her she was a brave soul because she put a button fly on them. And I'm like, yes, I used a magic circle. See, it closes it all up so you don't have that gaping hole in the top. I was saying that to Teresa. Sorry. Yeah, so she just said she knew what I meant. All right. So I did my slip stitch. Now I'm going to do a chain one, and I'm going to just do a single crochet in that first half double crochet. Then I'm going to skip one, and in the next stitch, I want to work 3 double crochets. This is going to be a 3 double crochet shell. And the reason you do 3 is you're skipping one here. You're going to skip one on this side. So that's 1, 2, 3. That keeps your stitch count the same. I didn't know if anybody was ever aware of that. So that's why you can skip a stitch and still have it, be fine for your count. It won't change your count because you're putting all 3 of these stitches that are right here together into that one. So let's put 3 double crochets in here. 1, 2, and 3. Skip 1 half double crochet and then single crochet in this one. So it starts single crochet, skip 1, 3 double crochets, skip 1, single crochet, skip 1, 3 double crochets, and so on around. Okay? And then single crochet after you skip 1, and then skip 1 and do 3 double crochets. And you can see the tails from previous color changes, so ignore those when they flip up at you. And then skip 1, single crochet, and see what you get is this pretty little shell detail started. Okay. It's a single, skip 1, do 3 double crochets in the next one. 1, 2, and 3. Skip 1, do a single crochet. Skip 1, do 3 double crochets. Skip 1, single crochet. Skip 1, 3 double crochets. All right. Then skip 1 and do a single crochet. Skip 1, do 3 double crochets. And you get the idea, right? Skip 1, single crochet. Skip 1, 3 doubles. What's Janet say here? Yes, some of your stitches will make a beautiful brim. Or if you want to do something just a fun and funky, you could do something like a leaf pattern on your edge, and it would end up looking like a fairy cap. Just play around with the. Once you get your increases up to the doing 2 and then 5, that you're at an adult size at that point, and you can do any stitch you want to finish out the bottom, and then you can use anything on your edge. If you want a straight edge, you could just do a couple rows of half doubles or single crochets. You can also, after you get it to the length you want, you can add a brim by crocheting in the opposite direction so it can flip up over the hat. I've done that before. That might be something I bring a finished hat to the table another time. Maybe we'll do that next Sunday if I'm up this early, and I'll show you how to add a fold-up brim onto just a plain hat. All right, so skip 1, 3 double crochets. And I think for interest, even though it's going to make me 100 tails to tie in, when I get around here, skip 1, do a single, I'm going to tie on a new color. And I'm going to go back to the pink because I just want you to see the pattern change. And I think the best way to do that is with a color change of the yarn. And it'll make a fun and funky hat too. And I think 3 colors is a good color combination. I mean, you can use as many colors as you want in a hat. I mean, seriously. The more colors it has, the more it'll go with, right? Oh, goodness. Sometimes I'm silly. It's already 6:30. Oh, goodness. All right. So I've got 3 stitches left. I'm going to skip this one and this one. So I need to put 3 double crochets in this here. 1, 2, 3. And then we're going to go into the top of our very first single crochet. But I'm only going to put my hook through it, and I'm going to clip the tail off here. And we're going to go back to the pink. This is probably the wrong way for some people to tie on, but this is how I'm doing it. And I'm tying the knot nice and firm, so there's just a little knot there. All right. Now, I'm going to go ahead and slip stitch my pink yarn through. So there's my slip stitch. Now, you're going to do the opposite of what you did on the first row. So here, you're not going to put a single crochet. You're going to put one of these shells. So you want to do chain 2 on the shell. When you're starting a row with a shell, chain 2 and then do 3. You do not count your 2 chains as a stitch. 1, 2. I need to switch positions for this pink and this mint green, just so the pink can jump around in the bag on the floor. So one more, 1, 2, 3. So that gives you your first shell plus the chain that fills in that space where you do your connecting. All right, so you're going to skip 1 and then single crochet in the center of your previous shell. So the center stitch on the previous shell, you're going to put a single crochet. And what happens is you're working shells into single crochets and single crochets into the center of your shell, previous row. And what that does is you end up with a full pattern of stitches, and you'll see how it looks after we do a couple more. And if you change color on each row, it looks really kind of cool. Now on the next row, you're going to have to do something special to get to the center of that first chain, because you have to be in the center of the shell to start the next row. But we'll be there in just a minute. Ray. Okay. 1, 2, 3. Now I've been struggling to figure out a time that I can get on because everything's so full, and so y'all might just see me popping on at random times but my Wednesday night at 7:30 will stay. It's just to get some more videos up, I might pop on other times with different topics, because I do a lot of things besides art journaling and stuff. I sew, I crochet, I cook. I made Scott a Mexican chocolate cake for his birthday, and he is thoroughly enjoying it. He had a piece for his breakfast this morning to start his breakfast. And then we had cheesy eggs and toast. So just remember, each row, you're going to switch. So the first row, you started with the single crochet. The second row, you started with a shell. And then the third row, you'll go back to starting that row with the single crochet, and then the shell will go into the previous row's single crochet. So your shells and your single crochets are shifting back and forth on top of each other. And you'll know if you mess up at all because the pattern won't look right. And I usually go even faster when it's just me watching. So I can probably do a hat in an hour. I don't know how long I've been on now. Almost an hour. So usually I'd be about done. But I'm trying to show you as well as make the hat. All right, so single crochet here. Those tails are jumping up. That's going to be the problem with us changing color is you're going to see those pop up. All right, so now we need to join over here. So go ahead and join in the first double crochet of that shell. All right, but now the next stitch needs to be worked into the center of that shell. So what we have to do is slip stitch over to the center. We slip stitched into the first double crochet, then we're going to go into the center crochet, but I want to change colors. So I'm going to go ahead. My hook is in the center of that shell. I'm going to leave it there. I'm going to clip my yarn free, and we're going to switch back to the yellow. We'll throw the yellow down in the bag on the floor. All right, and again, I'm just putting my two together, and then I just do one of those tie it together kind of knots. And I try to get the knot pretty close down to the work so that I don't have it popping through to the right side of the hat, because I want to hide that behind the hat later. All right. So now I draw up the yellow yarn, do your slip stitch. So now we're in the center. All right. And if that knot comes through, just pull your tails and it'll pull back to the back side. So this is going to be where we just chain one. Remember, you chain one when you're going to start with a single crochet. You chain two when you're going to start with a shell. Okay. So now we're going to do our single crochet in that center stitch of that shell. And then we're going to go to our single crochet and do a shell in that single crochet. And you just keep doing this until you get the hat to the length you want. Then we'll single crochet in the center stitch of the shell. It's still skipping a stitch and going into the next stitch. It's the same thing, except you can think about it different after you get past that first row. Because now you can just think shells go in single crochets go in the center of the shells. And the only reason I'm changing color is I want you to see. So here's a shell, then it jumps over here, then it jumps back here, or jumps forward actually. So let me see. Yeah, the wave stitch I think is actually made with a single, half double, a double, and a treble, and then you do treble, double, half, double, and then single, and you do that over and over, and you'll get a wave around. That would be a fun stitch on a hat, to do a wave stitch. Don't use a basket weave on a dishcloth. Teresa's given tips in the chat. So that's basically what you do, and you just keep doing it. I can hang here and finish this hat if y'all want to sit and watch me crochet. But other than that, I'm just going to do shells all the way to the bottom. You don't have to. I've got another hat sitting here. I'll show you what I did on it real quick. So I did shells, but I did all of these in blue, then orange, and then I did one row in red, and then I just did half double crochets just to get the edge. But this is what I'm talking about. You turn it wrong side out, and you see I have to sew in all these tails yet on this hat. So this is one I just finished this morning. I wanted to have an example. So like I said, because you're not increasing the count of stitches around, you can just go back in and just do half double crochets into every stitch around, and you will get back to a smooth finish if you wanted just a flat edge on your hat. Now, a shell hat, it's going to be just like it looks here. It's going to be a little wavy on the edge. It's entirely up to you guys. All right, so I'm just going to sit here and crochet. And if you guys have questions or anything, I'll try to help you. Yes. I just thought y'all might like to see a basic, simple hat. Now, if these kind of do look feminine, but if you wanted to do a hat all of just a double or a double crochet or all half double crochets will take you longer to get to the bottom of your hat than the shell technique, because these shells being taller, you work faster. Just like, think about the double crochets and then we did a half double. You can see the difference between this row here and this one here. The height difference is what I'm saying. So it would take you longer to crochet a hat, but a man might prefer a hat like that than one that's kind of floofy. Scott's at the coffee pot and Howard's like, "Are we making coffee?" He must have had a rough night if he needs that much coffee. Oh, okay, Ray. Have a good day. Yeah, Bernadette needs to go to the groomer, but before I can take her to the groomer again, she needs to go to the vet for her checkup. So I need to set that up this week. I need to make a note of that. I need to make notes. There's just too much going on in my head right now. I have all these ideas of things I want to do on my YouTube channel, as well as I'd like to sew my way through the fabric that's on our dining room table right now. That's a main goal. But I've got a couple Project Dress a Girls that have been cut out for months that I've got to get working on. Kind of wishing I'd brought something to drink in here. My throat's getting dried out. In the refrigerator, honey, there's some of those Gatorade Zeros. I'd love one if you got a chance. He's got to work tonight. We've been up half the night. Our schedules are all messed up. I hear Carolina ran out there fussing. I need to go to Tractor Supply and get birdseed. We didn't do that yesterday. The neighbor's cats are probably out there. Definitely sounds like there's a cat. I can, Teresa. Keep in mind, all the machines are a little bit different, but I have two different styles of machines, so I could do that. He must not have heard me. That's okay. All right, I'm going to switch color again. So I've inserted my hook into my first single crochet. I'm going to cut this. I'm going to have a million tails to cut off. And I'm going to switch the yellow, and we need to go back to this aqua color. Scott, what's that sewing machine we have out in the garage? Is it a 12 stitch, Kenmore? We bought another sewing machine and Scott has it out in the garage and it works beautiful. I think we paid what, $25 for it? $15 for it. And it came in a table and everything. And here comes Howard. Y'all see him? What, Scott? Totally awesome. So I can go and see if I can get it threaded, see how it's threaded. Because like I said, every machine's just slightly different. I just have old machines, you guys. I don't have any big whoop-de-doo computerized things. Although my quilting star had some kind of electronic stuff on it. It's just, I can't go in reverse on it anymore. So I don't use it except for buttonholes. All right, so again, I'm going to draw this through as my slip stitch and try not to pull the knot to this right side. All right, so we are back on a shell row. So I'm going to just chain 2 here. I don't have to work to the center of anything. And then I'm going to do 3 double crochets to make a shell in the single crochet. 2, and there's 3. And then we're going to single crochet in the center of the shell. Or you can think about it as skipping 1, single crochet, skip 1, do a shell. It's the same thing. 2, 3. This is what makes my left foot swell, is because I cross my legs. I've had nurses tell me, you should never cross your legs. Not as old. Oh, yours is like Janet Nash's, but not quite that old. We had an old singer like that here, but I gave it to my sister-in-law because it was her mother's machine and it was froze up. And I really didn't need another machine. I have 3 sewing machines and a serger. No, 4 sewing machines and a serger now. So I didn't really need it. And she thought it would be fun to keep at the cottage. So she spent about, I think she said $200 to get it working again, because it was all froze up and gummed up. But if she doesn't use it, it'll just get all gummed up again. That's the thing about sewing machines. If they sit, then that oil gets hard in them, and then they freeze up. It's like everything else. You got to use it or lose it. Now see, we're back at the blue. See how pretty that makes? But it also does this. I've got all these tails to sew together. I mean, to put back in the hat. What you heating up, darling? He can't hear me. Scott, what? Can you get me at one of those Gatorades and open it out of the refrigerator? You're a Gatorade. I said, can you get one? I didn't say, can you make me a Gatorade? He just said, you're a Gatorade. I was like, oh, never a dull moment with him around, I'm telling you. We had a lot of fun yesterday. We went to Costco. Took $95 to fill our truck up. Whew. Then we went in and spent another $90-something on bulk items. They have booze. Did you get it open for me?
I did.
Oh, thank you.
You want me to take the lid off?
Well, no, I just wanted it open so I wasn't going to sit here and fight with it.
All right.
Thank you. My throat's sore. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I love these things. 0 sugar. And this is the Glacier Cherry. Can't say how much I love them. They're best really cold though. And it doesn't run my sugar up, which is awesome. Howard's going to get in his chair. He'd like to get in my chair, but doggone it, I'm in it. That'd be awesome, Teresa. Yeah, that old machine is now up at the cottage where we used to live at. All right. And we're going to go into the first double crochet of this shell and do a slip stitch. And then I'll go into the center of the shell, but I'm not going to do a slip stitch just yet. I'm going to change color. I'm going to change back to pink. I'm a glutton for punishment. I'm going to have to sew in all these ends. That's the bad part about changing color. Then you have to deal with all the tails. And I've already switched the balls out of the bag so that the pink ball is down in the bag now. And then I just draw it down close to the project. Tighten out all the pieces up. And then I'll draw my pink up and through there. And then chain 1 because we're doing a single crochet. And then we just start going around. Single crochet, shell, single crochet, shell, all the way around. I think I will do, I'll switch colors one more time. And then I think I'll finish the hat with the yellow. So it'll be yellow near your face. So I will, when we get around, I'll switch back to yellow, but then I'll just keep the yellow until the bottom of the hat. If you have a hat near you that you know is the right size, if you don't want to slip every hat on your head like I do, if you've got one that you finished, you can just lay one hat on top of the other, and you'll kind of know how many more rows you need to do. This is kind of a stitch and do. These colors just look like candy, like cotton candy. Now, the tiny balls that I got at Goodwill yesterday, I could make just really, really colorful hats, but I was just going to finish with the yarn that I have here in these balls. These are the skeins of yarn that I bought specifically for this hat project. And I'm not going to make any more to send off past what I have here on the table. So those little balls, what I thought of is, I don't know if you guys have seen these on Pinterest or anything, but they have these little monster dolls or little dolls made out of just crochet. And I thought how fun it would be to make some colorful little monsters and then put them places as part of the art abandoned art project. There's a website for that too, Abandoned Art Project. And there's this little form you print off to put in with your whatever you're going to abandon. That says something like, "Congratulations, you found art." And it tells you can leave it there for someone else to enjoy, or they can take it home. But if they take it home, they're supposed to report that they found it, and it gives you the web address to report that you found it. And I just think it would be a fun project. And so I was thinking we could crochet some little monsters. I mean, we could make up our own monsters. And there's a website that had just the basics, like how to crochet a leg or antennae, or, but you can make things up. Just crochet something in the shape of what you want by just using different stitches. You'd be surprised. Once you start making things, like once some of these shells done together make cute butterfly wings, I mean, seriously, you would have to do you'd have to figure out your count to get the shape of a wing. But it's so easy to tear out crochet and put it back in. So I would just play with it. So that was my project idea for that, is to just do some little abandoned monsters to put around the city for kids to find or adults to find. They could just be dorm room mascots or something. All right, so I'm going to stick my hook into that first single crochet, but I'm going to change back to yellow. And then I'm going to stick with yellow to finish this hat out. So I need to snip this, cut the cord on that one, and then drop the yellow in the bucket, or a bucket would be cool to have. I've seen those where they have, you take 2-liter bottles and a bucket, and you cut the bottom off from the 2-liter bottle, and then put your ball of yarn inside it and feed the yarn up through the top of the 2-liter bottle, and then put like however many you need down in like a bucket. And then when you switch color, you just leave the tail hanging out of the bottle and you grab the next one. All right, so I'm going to pull slip stitch through both of those stitches. Then I'm going to chain 2 because this is a shell row. We're starting with a shell. And then I'll do the 3, 1, 2, 3. So I've got this much of a hat made. So if I take the one I've already finished, you can see how much more I need to make. See? So I'm working on this. So probably 3 more rows in the shell pattern would finish this out. Oh, you haven't seen the Crochet Dolls. They're cute. They are cute. If you type in Crochet Dolls on Pinterest, all kinds of them come up, but I like the ones that are made with just colorful little pieces, like your little small, like those balls of yarn I bought. They're smaller than this. And you can see that's in the palm of my hand. And the balls of yarn I got yesterday are like half this size. And they're already done up in little balls. So, but I need to make a list of every project I want to do with what I have out here in this room right now, because I've got too much stuff in this room. I've got to make some things up. I've made something for my sister-in-law, and I need to get it in the mail to her. Scott's sister-in-law, really. Scott's brother's wife. I've made her something, and I need to get it finished and in the mail. So if I do 2 more rows after this, and then we'll check it and see where we are. We might want 1 more row. If you didn't want to have shells all the way down to the bottom of the hat, like I said, switch back and do the half double crochets again, or single crochets, whatever you want to add an edge. Or if you wanted to do something wild and have kind of a flipped out brim, you could make larger shells, like 5 stitches instead of 3. But you might end up with something wonky. But the only way to find out is to try. And if you don't like it, just rip it back to the previous row and try something else. It's not a huge project. So that kind of tear out, that won't be a problem at all. You just got to be brave enough to try it. You might discover, I made one of my hats and I used the stitch I developed, and it's one of my favorite hats. I might have to make another one just for me. I really want to get these in the mail. That's another reason to come on and make one with you guys, so that I'm 1 more ahead. I don't really have a whole lot of yarn left, but I keep thinking it's not much. Oh, that's only a couple more hats. And then I make 2 or 3 more hats and I still have yarn sitting here. And I'm like, oh, it's like a bowl of spaghetti that never ends. So now you'll get to see what it looks like when you don't change color, when you get around here. The birds have calmed down, so the cats must have gone, or the birds have left because the cats are out there. All right, so now we're at the very beginning again. We're going to slip stitch into the first double crochet of that shell, and then we need to get to the middle, so you're going to slip stitch again. All right, and that time we didn't insert to cut off or anything. We just pulled our slip stitch through. Chain 1, then do your single crochet in that center stitch of the previous shell. Then just start doing your shell, single crochet, shell, single crochet around. It kind of does look like a unicorn, doesn't it, Janet? Just needs a horn, which you can crochet a horn too. Just start out with like 3 in a round and then double it up until you get till maybe, I don't know how big, maybe 16, and then just do 16, and then you could make a horn to go on the front of it or on the top of it or whatever. That could be fun, but not for this project. Well, the switch yard has started up. They're moving things around down there. I live close to planes, trains, and automobiles. I think I've said that before. I hear all that stuff. As long as the F-16s don't practice today, that'd be nice. And it was McIntyre Air National Guard. They're the ones their planes are out at our local airport right now while their airfield gets redone. See, I like to make sure they're stacked properly too. If the layers of a double crochet go over each other. I find that hard to get into the next time. So I just fix it. There's a squirrel raising cane. Sorry, I get quiet when I get going here. It's just a really easy hat to do. Now, a couple of our stitches would make a hat that was very, way too warm. How many hats have you done for the project? I have one hat for myself, 36, 37. This is the 38th hat I've made. And I had no idea that the yarn I had purchased would make this many hats. I was working on something and somebody was talking to me in the dentist office one day and they're like, "You're not even looking at it." And I'm like, "Well, it's the same motion, repeated motion." And I was talking with Carol and Ann when we were off shot last Sunday about an idea I have of making some things up and maybe doing a holiday market where I would sell some handmade items. I would wash them well in an anti-allergen detergent, anything I made, and I would package it away from the cats and I would keep it away from the cats so that anybody could purchase it and not get ill. And I was thinking of hats, makeup bags, things people could give as gifts that wouldn't cost a lot to ship. And I was thinking maybe do it around Thanksgiving, the beginning, middle of November. And then Ann said I should do it in July and have a Christmas in July sale. And I said, well, I don't have anything made right now. But I got to thinking, that might be something. And I have some other ideas of maybe a barter situation where we could swap items. We'd have to work out individually, how to work that out. All right, so we're back at the beginning. So I'm going to go into that first single crochet again, and I'm going to do a slip stitch, chain 2, because this is starting with a shell because we're in a single crochet, and then 3 double crochets. 1, 2. Yeah, if I did nothing but this, you can tell I could probably make 5 or 6 hats every day if I didn't do anything else. If my life revolved around hats, always, I would be able to make a ton of hats. But I would need to make up some tags or something that said handmade or handcrafted by Aunt Beck's Creations and just put those on there. It'd be a one of a kind. No two would be alike because I change. None of those hats are exactly alike. I'll take that back. 3 of them are, but they're in 3 different sizes because I used a pattern I found on the internet, which is an awesome pattern. I ought to do some pattern shout outs on my community tab and give you guys the link to some of the basic hats. If you are interested in those, I'll do that. I'll look and find them. A lot of them came from places like Lion Brand, Red Heart, what was that other company? Now I can't remember the name of it. Any yarn company, if you have a ball of yarn, if you go to their website, they're going to have free patterns. They just will. And you can get them off. Now, not everybody can read a pattern. That's where you go over to Bag a Day Crochet, because she has videos like this one where she just shows you how to make them. She doesn't write up patterns. She just, I guess she makes them up as she goes along. And somebody else writes them up for her. But she'll tell you that when she gets like a mystery box and it's got patterns in them, she just keeps them aside to throw in with her giveaways, which she does a lot of giveaways of a lot of yarn, some really cool yarn. I keep entering, but I haven't won yet. But she gets like 5,000 entries. So what's the chances of me winning one of her awesome boxes? But it doesn't hurt to try, right? Let's see. What did Miss Mary Berry say? Lion Brand. I wish I could remember the name of that other company. They have a lot of baby yarns. Bernat yarn. Bernat. They have some gorgeous patterns on their website too. And if you don't switch color, this takes hardly any time to make the hat I'm doing here. If you're just going around and around and you don't have to switch color and then sew in all those ends. But again, feel free to experiment with any of the new stitches that we did. I do caution you about the bean stitch. It didn't work out too well. And we're back at the beginning again. So I'm just going to do the first slip stitch in that first one. Let's get that other hat back that I know is a finished size. And you see, we're still too short. It needs one more row. It's Bernat. Yep, they make a lot of really beautiful soft acrylic yarns. They make a lot of baby yarns. All right, so I'm going to have to slip stitch again to get to the center of my shell, because you always want to start in the center of a shell, and then chain one, and then single crochet in the same stitch, and then start again with the going around. Hopefully this will be the last time we need to go around. So I will put in some of the links that I have hat patterns in the description box of this video. If you can read crochet patterns and are looking for some new ones, I will put the hat patterns in, and that will get you to the websites, but you can look up all kinds of things. They have, sweaters, shawls, all that kind of stuff for free. Of course, they want you to buy the yarn to go to make the thing, but if you have yarn that's of a similar weight, do a swatch test to see if it matches. Especially if you're making something besides a hat, do a swatch, because if you're making a sweater that's really involved, you don't want to use a different yarn and then have it turn out too big or too small. And your stitches might be tighter or looser. So that's another reason to do the swatch test. It's important to keep your stitches even. if you get tense and you don't have relaxed muscles as you go, if you start getting tense and you're drawing up your stitches too tight, it's harder to work it that way. Plus, it puts a lot more strain on your wrists and fingers. I want to finish this hat completely. I'm not going to make you sit and watch me sew in all the ends, but I do want you to see how I sew the ends in, because I found the way I do it, they don't back out like they do if you're just like that round on the top where it won't matter. Where I carried the tail around from the magic ring, um, that if it was on a straight like a blanket, it could pull out. That's why I like to go in different directions, like do 3 stitches one way and then flip and then come back through. And I'll show you what I mean by that. Lizzie said in one of her videos, be your own designer. Design your own hat. Once you get that basic increase at the top of the hat done, you really can do anything. Make up a stitch of your own. You know, if it works out evenly around the hat, why not? Oh, that I think it was called the forest stitch that we did. That could be real pretty on a hat. And I want to thank you guys for hanging with me today and sitting here and watching me make a hat from start to end. And I'll count and tell you how many rows I've done, because I have not kept count as we've gone. So this should be a shell. 1, 2, 3. And then I'm going to go ahead and do my slip stitch into this single crochet. All right. And that looks like a finished hat. Let's see. Let's pull this one back here. It could really stand to be one more. We'll do the head test. Let me see. I'm going to draw up a loop, see how this fits me. It goes over my ears. We're going to call this one good enough. Now, if you wanted to make it just a little longer, just slightly, you could do a row of single crochet or half double. But I want to leave this one kind of wavy. So I'm going to draw this back down onto the hook. And I'm just going to do a slip knot here. And just pull it through and pull it down. Now, I'm going to go ahead and do this on this one. We've got all of these wonderful tails to deal with. All right. I don't think I can get any more. Hi, Carol. Where's that needle? There it is. All right. So I'm just going to grab the tail here where we ended. This is a yarn needle. No sharp tip. It's relatively dull. I'm on the inside of the hat because that's where all the tails are. I've turned the hat wrong side out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my tail and I'm going to work it down through some stitches. See how you have all of these loops from the stitches? I'm just going to go under them. So on the back side, work your way down to where you have a grouping. Like here's a group of double crochets from a shell. I like to work down to that inside stitches. So we're going between the layers, between outside and the inside. Now on here, where this shell is made, right here, we're going to go under all of them. See? All right, so I'm under the stitches. Can you see that? And I've come out over here. So go ahead and pull this through. All right, so there I've stitched in one direction. Now go and come back this way, but you have to go over that first stitch. So don't insert your needle right where you were, because what will happen is you will pull out what you just put through there. So come over the top of that and go into the second stitch, going back the other way, like this. And what that does is that locks that tail in. So then you pull your needle off, then just clip this close to the hat, and where's the tail? It's gone. It's hiding. And I have to do that on all of these now. And I try not to, all right, let me show you. Oops. I'm not going to make you watch me tie these all in. And I know y'all want to get some breakfast before Ann comes on. All right. I got a little bit shorter tail here, but I like to hide this. I don't want to just go straight across and then jump in like this. I don't want to do that, because then I'll have this sticking. There'll be a thread that comes across here like this, and that has a tendency, maybe your fingernail will catch it or whatever. So hide your yarn inside a stitch. So I'm going to go under these yellow stitches here. Remember, I'm between the layers, and I'll work my yarn over here, and that hides that. And then to get down to those stitches, I'm going to go inside these pink ones, and I just work my way down there, and it hides the yarn. This one's going to be hard to do. Go under all of them again. And then I got to turn and come back the other way, which what I might have to do, stick your needle in. And when it gets over here, then rethread it. That's what happens when you leave your tail too short to get it all the way through. All right, and then I can pull this back through. And then I kind of just work this out a little bit here. And then this little bit of tail here, I will cut off. And so that little bit of tail barely shows now. And I'll do that with all of these. So I go through a grouping, and when I do that, it'll pull this knot down inside a bit. You won't feel these knots on the inside. And see, I still have to do it on this hat as well. It's still got all its tails. So I hope you enjoyed seeing how I create these hats. So we made this one together from start to finish, except for tying tails. So you can get different looks by how you change your yarn out, and whether you switch back to a half double at the bottom or singles or whatever you decide you want to do. So jump right into the hat making. They make great gifts at Christmas. All of my brother-in-laws love the ones I have made. So I'm going to let you guys go and take a little breather before Ann starts, and I will see some of you over there. Yes, Lizzie is doing the rugs like Ruth Lamb makes. Not Hook, it's called something else. Ruth, you know what kind of rugs you make. Lizzie's doing those. I can't remember the term for it. It's not really a hook rug, is it? I thought you had a different name for it. You don't watch her. Oh. So it's rug hooking. Okay, but I thought there was another name for it. I don't know. Maybe I'm thinking something else. Anyway, I will put in some links after a while for the hats. And thank you for being here this morning. And enjoy your Sunday. Bye, guys.